the Youngpreneurs Podcast, episode number 157, with your host, Victor Ahi Penny. What's up, world? Another day, another podcast. And today I have someone who's going to make, if you've ever questioned on how do I make a good website, what should I be looking for in a website designer, a developer, or how can I scale my business? So I've got Joe on the show, and he has gone from making $100 websites to tens of thousands of dollars websites. He's grown a team, he's scaled that team, and now he helps others do the exact same. There's so many takeaways from this episode. If you have looked at going from kind of that solopreneur or small business owner and looking to create the framework to be able to grow and create your own either digital agency or even brick and mortar business, on what it may take to find the right mentor or find the right systems or grow your business, and Joe does that in spades. You can find and connect with Joe. We've got some links over on our page at passiveincomeyoung.com/EP157. Got all the links, the show notes, and how you can connect with Joe, as well as a 4-part video series on how you can start your own business online for $0 down and get it started ASAP. If you love the show, or you enjoyed the show even, or if you didn't, leave us a rating and a review over on iTunes, and we really appreciate it, because it helps get the message out to more inspiring young entrepreneurs and share the messages of other awesome guests just like Joe. But grab a pen and paper, sit back, relax, and keep living life on your own terms. You're listening to the Youngpreneurs Podcast, the #1 resource online for under 35-year-olds, where we chat twice a week to the most inspiring entrepreneurs in the world. We have it all. If you're looking for inspiration, guidance, or actionable tips to help you transition from that job into a business, or if you're ready to take that business to a whole new level, then this is the place to be. Get ready to live life on your own terms. Youngpreneurs, welcome to another episode of the Youngpreneurs Podcast. I'm your host, Victor Ahi Penny, and as always, thanks for jumping on. You can spend your time anywhere, and you're choosing to better yourself by hanging out with myself and my awesome guest, Joe Kashurba, who is a web developer who now helps others expand and grow their own web development and web design businesses. So welcome to the show, Joe.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Look, I love to get a bit more of a background about our guests growing up, because it kind of breaks down a lot of the barriers that I guess people often put up for why they shouldn't start entrepreneurship, or why they, why someone else had it all gifted to them on a plate. And so, can you give us a bit of a background? Was entrepreneurship always on the cards for you? Was being a business owner even always on the cards for you? Was the influences there, or was it something that came about because of a certain things that happened in life?
Entrepreneurship was always something that interested me all the way back to when I was maybe 7 or 8 in elementary school. I used to tell my parents that when I grew up, I wanted to own a cheese factory that made good tasting, fat-free cheese. That was like my, people want to be a fireman or an astronaut when they're little. I wanted to own a cheese factory. So I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And then I started my first business, which is the web design business, in high school. So I was still in high school and I was starting businesses. So it was pretty early on that I was interested in entrepreneurship.
And how did you go from high school? What did you carry on? Did you go to college in the end, or did you end up just carrying on growing that web design business?
I did end up going to college. I went to college for information science and computer science, and the web design business was something I did on the side all through high school and college.
Yeah.
And then really what happened was, at the end of college, I was involved in a startup company that kind of fell apart at the end of college. And so when I graduated, I didn't have a job lined up or anything. The startup company had failed, and the freelance web design was all I had at that point. So that's when it became a full-time thing.
And what was the startup? Were there any kind of massive learnings that you got as a person, or just as a person, I guess, not even as an entrepreneur in the startup space?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think so many things based on all the failures. In When you have a startup, everybody always has these cool ideas for business, and they spend 6 months or a year building something, and then you find out nobody actually wants it. So just learning that you need to actually talk to the potential customers or potential clients and understand what they actually want, rather than just creating what's in your head. That was a pretty big lesson.
And with the web design side of things, what was it that you, like, how were you getting clients on in the first place? Like, what did you was there a sales funnel, or was it kind of, networking, going, hey, oh, you should get a website, or was there any method to the madness then?
For a long time, there was no method to the madness. It was just, word of mouth, or, I got my first few clients from people like calling the school, looking for a high school kid to do a website for them or something like that. And then, when it became a full-time thing and I had to go out and get clients, I had to figure out how to do that. And that's when I started trying every conceivable different kind of marketing strategy. I did cold calling. I did about 5 cold calls and gave up on that. And eventually what started working for me was doing Google AdWords. That worked extremely well. And that's when things started to take off, when I finally started doing Google AdWords. That was the first strategy that really took off.
And was this when Google AdWords was like cents in the dollar to get featured in Google AdWords, or was it just the local? Were you just doing local Google AdWords?
Yeah, it was mostly local. It was, basically what happened was I had learned some strategies that people in other, not in the web design industry, were using for Google AdWords.
Yeah.
Like construction companies and other local businesses, and started applying those strategies to the web design industry to get local clients. And that started taking off, and that was really when things started to take off.
And when did it turn from a one-man band to like a actual business?
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, what happened was there was a month that it was the first month that I ever did $10,000 in a month.
Yeah.
And I worked like crazy all month, and went crazy to try to get to $10,000. I actually ended up doing 12,000, I think. And I got to the end of the month, and I realized, it changed to the next month, and I was back down to zero. And I was like, wow, I can't, it's not sustainable to work that hard all the time.
Yeah.
And so that's when I realized I need to get some other people involved.
Yep. And who were the key people that you first got on?
Well, there was the point of, that decision between, should I go ahead and get a physical office and start getting physical employees, or what should I do? And I saw some people who had sort of built their web design agency in the direction of having a physical office and employees. And I saw that was a path that didn't result in much profit. I knew people that, had added on all these employees, but they weren't actually making any much more money for themselves than they did when they were freelancer, because all the money was going to payroll and everything. So I made the decision to go the virtual route, and I started bringing in contractors that could handle different pieces of the projects. I had a graphic designer, and then started bringing in developers, and then ended up building this virtual team and never really having a physical office.
Yep. And prior, were you just doing all of that yourself?
Yeah, I was doing everything. I was doing the programming, the design, the project, everything myself. It was crazy.
So did the quality of the websites improve when you got kind of the team of specialists in there, and did it mean you could charge more?
Absolutely, on both accounts. I think sometimes people have this idea that if they bring other people in, they're never going to be able to find somebody that can do things as good as they can. But the reality is, you can't do everything amazing. So I went out and got world-class graphic designers and developers that were better at each of those tasks than I was, and then the quality of the websites really improved. And then, yeah, exactly right, that allowed me to charge a lot more and get bigger clients and things like that.
And then it's just the snowball effect. If you're producing good content for bigger clients, then bigger clients want you, and
absolutely,
the sharing from there kind of goes to another level. With building the team, what does your team get up to? Like how many staff members at its peak?
It's always been a pretty sort of flexible thing where people are on a lot of graphic designers have always been on a project basis. So we have about two pretty serious graphic designers, couple developers, and then a couple project managers, and then lots of people that can do things beyond that. So it's always been pretty. A lot of people ask me the size of the team, and it's interesting because it's sort of very fluid, and there's so many people that are maybe will jump in for a project or jump in when we have a specific need.
Yep. And lead generation, is it still similar, Google AdWords or word of mouth, or have you got other funnels or systems set up?
For the web design business, Google AdWords is still our main lead generation strategy.
Yep.
For the other business now, where I've started to work with other web designers to help them grow their businesses, we're using Facebook advertising. We have a Facebook advertising funnel for that business. Yep.
And so with that side of things, are people doing online training? Are they working one-on-one? Are they working small groups? Like, what does the coaching program look like? And what are the fundamental main issues that you're covering with those web design developers?
Yeah, I mean, so when I work with someone, we have training materials, video modules, and things like that we give them, but I work with everybody on a one-on-one basis.
Yep.
Because what I found is that there's a million courses and different things out there, but if I give you a marketing strategy and just give you some video to go watch how to do this marketing strategy, it's very unlikely to work perfectly the first time you try it. You're going to run into challenges.
Yep.
And so I found that it's a night and day compared to if you give somebody training materials versus if you work with them on a one-on-one basis. And so even as we've grown, we've continued to I work with everybody on a one-on-one basis.
And what are the main things that you help people with? Is it going from that solopreneur to building a team? Is it scaling up? Is it creating the systems? Like, what are the repetitive things that you see companies do?
Yeah, the two main things that I see, which are really related, is I see people who are charging really low prices for their services. And they're basically, they're way underselling themselves. They're working with difficult clients that want everything. They don't want to pay a whole lot. And so we're working with them to help them figure out how to charge more, how to package their services up in such a way that they seem valuable. But then the cause of that sometimes people don't realize is that they don't have any lead generation in place.
Yeah.
I always say that they don't have deal flow. They don't have a consistent stream of people contacting them that are interested in services. And so they have to charge low prices and they have to take on anybody they can get. So we have to attack sort of both of those. Get marketing systems in place so they can get leads, and then present and package your services in such a way that you're charging premium prices.
And I mean, that's the thing with a lot of businesses is you get skilled people as business owners, but they've really just employed themselves into the business, and they don't know the marketing side of things. And sales and marketing is, like, in my opinion, it's the number one thing that you need in a business above product. Like, if you've got a crap product, you'll get found out in the end, and you'll have no business no matter how good your sales and marketing is. But if you don't have sales and marketing and you have the world's best product, Apple products like that. No, I'm not an Apple fanboy, but Apple have amazing marketing, which helps their amazing products that people are evangelical for. You get people freaking lining up in the cold of winter to get a new bloody golden cell phone. It's like you can get it 6 hours later if you just stay in bed and sleep, or a day later. Like, it's not life or death, but you look what the marketing and the culture that they've created around it makes it a big difference. And I mean, I've seen it. I'm a qualified physio, and you see it in the health professional industry as these practitioners become really good. They start their own business and then they have no idea. Like, it's just a completely different ball game. So with that, and I guess the journey that you take people through, I guess, with the lead generation side of things, and I guess the pricing as well, because I saw someone on my Facebook putting the other day, if you want a WordPress site, I can. It was obvious. It's someone I don't know, and that I've got a lot of people I've never met on my Facebook, but it was like, I've got I'm putting together this weekend. Anybody who wants a WordPress website can do it for between $100 to $200 if you're, depending on what you're after. And I'm like, what? Give me $100 to $200. I was like, look at your competition, man. People don't want. I'd never want to work with that, even if I was working for a website, because I'm going, what am I getting for $100 to $200? Like,
Yeah.
I realize you can get charged 10 grand for something that should be 2 or 3, and you got to be wary on that end. But if you're that far below, if you're playing the competition price point, then or the price point, if you're chasing price down, it's you're not, like you said, you're not attracting. You're attracting people who go, cool, I'm going to get an everything website. I'm going to get an e-commerce website with 50 products for $200, please.
Yeah,
So,
that's crazy.
yeah, so I don't know. I can't imagine. I don't know how he'll need to find you, and hopefully he listens to this. I can't even remember who it was, but hopefully he's listening to this and he finds you. So, with the things that you've seen with people, what's some of the cooler results that people have had since working with you?
It's awesome. That's one of the coolest things is to see. It's almost cooler to see them getting clients than when I get my own clients.
Yeah.
I've had people. I had somebody come in who was, she was charging like $600 for websites when she started working with us, and we helped her increase that price from 600 all the way up to 6,000.
Yeah.
And she landed a couple clients within a few weeks of working with us at that drastically increased price, and just incredible. I was talking to somebody recently in the last couple weeks. He landed a deal worth $150,000. It was a website with digital marketing afterwards and everything like that. The deal total over a couple of years is worth $150,000. So it's been pretty cool. We've also helped people like bring in project managers and build out that virtual team and that kind of thing.
And I think the amazing thing with that is, like any business, is as soon as you can start having consistent, like you're saying, deal flow, or like you can start having consistent income, you can actually start planning to have a life and building a lifestyle by design. Like you can be like,
yeah,
all right, if I get no other business the next 2 years, I've got $75,000 a year. Okay, if I can live off 40,000, I've got X amount to try and build a team or to put into marketing. And that one job is not going to keep you busy 52 weeks of the year, 40 hours a week. So anything you build up on top of that for your team, you can do that. And I mean, I guess that's the dream with every business is you want to be the owner, not the guy doing design, doing coding, doing development, doing customer service, doing lead generation, doing everything.
Doing everything, exactly right.
And I mean, at some point in your business at the start, you have to be that person. Unless you're unless you've got capital behind you and you're willing to do a lot of business planning in the background. To me, I'd say jumping in and wearing every hat is better to do it than to wait 6 months and
that's how you have to get started.
Yeah, but the quicker you can phase out of that, I've got some jobs and I'm getting a bit of credibility, I've got a bit of a portfolio, I need to free up my time. Hopefully you don't get to the point where you're chasing 10 grand a month yourself doing it. Hopefully it's like, all right, I've got 3 jobs coming in every month. Cool, I can make rent and then some. Like another one of my friends who's a web designer, he just worked out what was the minimum he could live off per month, and then he gave himself 3 months runway, and then stepped out of his job, and then he was backing that's the minimum I need, but I need that per month, but I'm aiming to increase each month. So if I increase each month by a small percent, then I should have replaced my actual income. Whereas I think a lot of people look to transition out, or they worry about it from I was on a $70,000 salary, now I need to be on a $70,000 salary. But when you figure out what does rent cost, or what does your mortgage cost, and what is your food and your bills cost, you can actually do it pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. And the other thing I see people that they're so used to that scrambling to get those low end clients that the idea of being able to step out of their business or free up their time isn't even like possible in their mind.
Yeah.
And like they need to first even see that it's possible, let alone that it can really be done with 1 or 2 clients a month.
Yeah, and so I mean, there's that mindset aspect to be like, oh, you don't have to be busy, like it's a hard concept for people, particularly societal norms that we get brought up on, in that you need to go to school, you work like you're at school from 8 to 5 or whatever, with sport and stuff like that. Then you leave and you got uni all day, or you probably don't, because uni's probably like the easiest run class wise for a lot of people. But then you go to work and you've got a 9 to 5, and it's just ingrained into us that you need to be working that hard. And usually when you start your business, you're working 5 to 9, not 9 to 5. And then
exactly.
People aren't, they read the 4-hour work week and they go, oh, that's impossible. But I mean, really, the basis behind the 4-hour work week is become more efficient at what you do. It's not you need to create a week where you only work 4 hours. Where can you cut down all these crappy inefficiencies and outsource and grow and things like that. So it's pretty cool. In a snapshot, where do you see yourself in 2 years, and what do you see the business doing from now?
The 2 years from now, I mean, my focus is switching more and more to working with other web designers and agency owners. I'd like to put together, right now we're working one-on-one with people. I'd like to put together a mastermind group of, successful agency owners that really want to take things even to the next level. And so that's the next thing I'm working on, is that mastermind group.
Yep.
And then starting to bring in some salespeople into that business and scale that business up as much as possible.
Yeah. Will you keep the web design running in the background, or is it something that's still, what kind of attention does it require from you at the moment?
It doesn't take a whole lot of attention at this point, because we've gotten to the point where most projects are being moved forward by project managers.
Yep.
So projects move forward primarily without me. It's just some overseeing and that kind of thing.
Yeah, cool. And if you were to dive into a couple of things about you, what would you say your best habit towards businesses and your worst habit that you wish you could kind of get rid of and be like, oh man, this would make me better?
Yeah, I think that one habit that's really been helpful is every night before I go to bed, I figure out a specific task that'll take about 15 minutes that'll move the business forward that I do before I work on anything else. Yeah. So any of the sort of day-to-day stuff, I always have that sort of high lifetime value task that moves things forward. So every day things are getting better, and I'm taking care of those things. So that's a good habit to have in place. I think the thing that I'm still struggling with is, and I see a lot of this too when I'm working with people, is not messing with things, like the temptation to go in and mess with things. And it's funny, your marketing campaign could be working for a month, and then you'll have one day where the stats don't look too good, and you're tempted to go in and change everything, and you have to have that discipline to not mess with anything and just sort of ride the sort of random variation of it. And so I still struggle with that, and I see a lot of people I work with, their AdWords campaign we help them put in place is generating clients, and everything's great, and then 2 days nothing happens, and they're like, it broke, and what are we going to do? And so you have to have that discipline, and so I still struggle with that.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because there's a guy that I follow online called Scott Oldford, and he's a really smart Facebook marketer and funnel creator and things like that. He's got his kind of quite a good unique method that he goes through on there, and he's got quite a big following, but he writes really, really engaging online posts, and one of them was about how he's grown a team. I mean, I think he's into the 8 figures now with his company, but they've basically locked him out of he's a Facebook ad. I think they've locked him out of his Facebook ads. He's not allowed to write the copy anymore. He writes these engaging posts and creates content, and but he can't send it in emails. It gets sent to his assistant because otherwise he starts trying to tweak with things. He starts trying to look at things where he's set up all the systems. He's like, these are the metrics we need to be measuring off. If they're not there, then follow these systems. But then he decides, I might get a little creative and playful, and he just makes everybody else's job harder. And he's got that. He kind of basically said, if you've created the process, you got to believe in the process. Like, there's got to be kind of fire before you start putting it out. It can't be a bit of steam from someone's jug boiling that you think you need to call the fire brigade and kind of jump in there. So it was a really good thing. And I think kind of those sorts of things, particularly when you're growing a team, and also the ability to hand things off, like you were saying earlier, is some very, very common things that entrepreneurs struggle with. It's like, I heard if someone can do it 80% as good as you, hand it off. Like, they can always get better at it. Whereas if you're looking for someone who can do it 110% of you, sometimes you'll get it in a designer side of things if you're not an awesome designer. But generally, you're probably going to struggle up front. But you got to realize people can improve in that role. What does your normal day look like? Is there such a thing?
I'm trying to make it as normal as possible. It's funny. I feel like I'm someone who likes a lot of sort of variety and stuff. So getting those routines in place is difficult sometimes. But typically, I'm getting up. I go to the gym, do all the mindset work and affirmations and reviewing of goals and everything in the morning. I'm trying to do a little bit of meditation, although I'm struggling to get that routine in place. Then I knock out that 15-minute task, whatever that is for the day, and then I try to I have whatever meetings or calls I need to do, but I try to have three main things I'm trying to complete throughout the day. So 3 big tasks that I want to get done, and those are the main things. I prioritize those after that first 15-minute task. Then I work on those.
Cool. And final question, what's one book or resource that you'd recommend to anyone out there in the entrepreneurial space? Doesn't have to be business, can be about anything, that's had a profound effect on you?
One of the ones I always recommend to people is Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz.
Yeah.
It's an amazing book. Basically talks about how everybody has this identity of who they are, and that in a lot of cases that sort of holds us back from things because we don't want to do things that are in violation of who we think we are, who that identity is, and sort of walks through a process of changing that identity. And so I think I'm a big believer in that. If you're gonna do something you've never done before, you're gonna sort of have to become a different person. You have to change your identity. And so I think that's a really good book for people to start with in terms of sort of improving themselves and changing themselves and breaking free from that identity.
It's an interesting one. I was having like a conversation. I haven't read that book, but it's come up a few times on the show, and so I'll definitely get onto it. But it's one of those interesting things. We were at a sports game the other day, professional sports players, and you're kind of going, you can see why there's high depression rates in these athletes, and their identity is tied up with 50,000 people coming to watch them every week. The massive highs, the massive lows, and then they get caught in this normality world at age 30 when they have to retire, and no one cares about them, and but you get the same, like I kind of see it a lot when people won't make the jump from a job to a business that they want to chase because they're tied up with, my identity's tied up with whatever degree I got at university or whatever trade I've got, and if I leave that, does that mean I lose my identity? But they don't realize that you can create another identity and after the fact.
Oh yeah.
Which is it's a powerful thing, and so I'll definitely get that book in there. I love the kind of the human psyche when it comes to evolving. I've just been reading Influence. Have you read that? I think it's Robert Cialdini or something. His name is.
That one's been recommended to me a few times, but that's not one I have yet.
Yeah, that's some completely different, but it's more about what drives our marketing decisions and our impulses and things like that, and how marketers have used it over the last 50, 60 years to influence things through reciprocity and doing little things. And it's just really interesting because a lot of the studies that he cites and it backs it up. It's not just the kind of if you do this will work. It's like they give away free samples at a supermarket and sales go up and they stay up, and it's like because they've given you a little thing, you feel like you owe them something back. It's interesting. But I'm gonna round up there. I just want to thank you and welcome you to the Youngpreneurs podcast family. If people want to find out more about you or what you're doing, where can they go or what can they do?
Absolutely. You can go to just joekashurba.com and get in touch with us that way, whether you're a web designer looking to grow your business or someone looking for done-for-you services where we would actually do the web design for you.
Cool. Well, we'll link all of that in the show notes, as well as the books and other things that we've touched on at passiveincomeyoung.com. Just again, thank you so much. It's been super valuable, and I look forward to staying connected and watching the growth over the next couple of years and seeing the impact that you can have.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Youngpreneurs podcast. This was proudly brought to you by the Podcast Institute, the #1 training resource to take your business from chasing leads to leads chasing you, and from an absolute amateur to a full-blown authority. If you're looking to take your business to the next level, then a podcast is the obvious answer. You can get national and global exposure in a very fast time, and it's just exactly what I've done with this podcast. So if you want to find out more, get a checklist on how you can get started for under $60, and to find out more through a small training video that I've prepared for you all, then please check out passiveincomeyoung.com/podcast training.